Let me ask you something. What if everything that you've ever been told about your ADHD is, well, wrong? Or at least only half the story? You see, for years, I was told that my inability to focus, my restlessness, and my impulsivity were my fatal flaws. They were the reasons that I struggled in school, the reasons I couldn't just sit still and listen. It was a story about being broken, about something or someone that needed to be fixed. But then I found the science, the stories, and the real-life experiences that show that those exact same traits are the source of incredible strength, creativity, and drive. And I'm not just talking about some feel-good, look-on-the-bright-side platitude. I'm talking about a genuine shift in the understanding how the ADHD brain actually works. You see, in a world that desperately needs new ideas and unconventional thinking, the ADHD mind might just be an evolutionary advantage. And in this episode, we're going to pull apart the myths, look at the science-backed strengths of the ADHD brain, and figure out how you can use these gifts to do more than just get by, but to actually thrive. This isn't about pretending that the challenges aren't real, because they absolutely 100% are. But they're only one side of the coin. And the other side is brilliant, dynamic, and incredibly powerful. So, if you've ever felt different, misunderstood, or like you were playing life on hard mode, well then this is the episode for you. It's time to talk about your not-so-secret superpower. Welcome to Error 404, Mental Health Not Found. Okay, so to really get our ADHD superpowers, we have to start with the brain itself. And it all comes down to a little chemical that you've probably heard of, dopamine. Now, dopamine is often called the motivation molecule. It's a key part of our brain's reward system, running everything from pleasure to attention to drive. In a neurotypical brain, dopamine does its job in a pretty steady, predictable way. It's released when you do something rewarding, and that helps you stay motivated and on task. But in the ADHD brain, the dopamine system is wired very differently. The science points to a couple of things. People with ADHD might have naturally lower baseline levels of dopamine, or our brains have these hyper-efficient little vacuum cleaners called dopamine transporters that suck out all of the dopamine from the synapse way too fast. This means that our brains are constantly searching for something interesting or exciting to get that dopamine hit just to feel normal and engaged. This is where the classic analogy comes in, and I love this one. The ADHD brain is a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. We have this ridiculously powerful high-performance engine. Our mind can race, making connections and spitting out ideas at incredible speeds. But our ability to regulate that speed, to slow down for the boring stuff, is where the bicycle brakes fail us. The parts of our brain in charge of executive functions like planning and impulse control, namely in the prefrontal cortex, are directly affected by this dopamine situation. That's why a task that seems simple to a neurotypical person, like filling out paperwork, can feel like actual mental torture for us, because it gives us zero stimulation. But throw a complex problem at us, a new project or a full-blown crisis, And suddenly that Ferrari engine roars to life. The constant need for stimulation is the very thing that's so often framed as a weakness, is what actually fuels our greatest strengths. It's not a bug in your system. No, it's a core feature. And once you learn to work with that feature instead of fighting it, you can unlock something pretty incredible. So, let's get into what that actually looks like. Alright, superpower number one, and it's the one you hear about the most: creativity. But we're not just talking about being good at painting or music, although many of us actually are. No, we're talking about a core way of thinking known as divergent thinking. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you might not have, it might be new, but divergent thinking is the ability to spitball a ton of different ideas, to see a problem from all sides, and to make these wild connections between things that seem totally unrelated. You see, a neurotypical brain might go from point A to point B to point C in a pretty straight line. But the ADHD brain is taking the scenic route, checking out side roads and discovering pathways that lead from Z to Q and maybe even a symbol we haven't invented yet. Now, study after study has shown that people with ADHD crush divergent thinking tasks, and one found that adults with ADHD reported more real-world creative achievements in everything, from science to writing to art. So, why does this happen? Well, it's our wiring. That leaky attention and weaker impulse control, which makes focusing on one thing a pain, also means that our minds are wide open to new information. We're not boxed in by conventional thinking. We're constantly scanning everything around us and picking up on details that others filter out. As cognitive psychology professor Holly White explained, for the same reason ADHD might create problems like distraction, it can also allow an openness to new ideas because not being totally focused lets the mind make associations that might not have happened otherwise. Think of some of the most innovative minds. People often point to someone like Leonardo da Vinci, whose notebooks jump from art to anatomy to engineering as a possible example of this kind of mind at work. And while we can't really diagnose him from the past, his scattered genius does feel familiar to a lot of us. And in our time, we have visionaries like Sir Richard Branson, who directly credits his ADHD and dyslexia for his success, saying his school struggles forced him to think differently, which became his biggest business asset. You've got artists like will.i.am, who describes his mind as non-linear, a trait that lets him juggle music, tech, and charity work. This creative spark isn't just for famous people either. It's a problem-solving machine. In one amazing study, when problem-solving groups included a student with ADHD, they were much more likely to solve complex problems than groups without one. Their unconventional thinking sparked insights that other groups just missed. They were catalysts. So, how do you actually use this? Well, first, embrace the chaos. Give yourself permission to brainstorm without a filter. Use mind maps, whiteboards, voice memos, whatever you need to catch the flood of ideas. And when you're stuck, don't try to force a straight line. Let your mind wander. Take a walk. Listen to music. Do something that's totally unrelated. Your brain is a natural idea generator. Your job isn't to tame it. It's to create the right environment and learn how to catch the brilliant things it comes up with. Your creativity is not a fluke. It's your edge. Now, anyone with ADHD has heard this a million times. You have an attention deficit. But that's not really true, is it? We don't have a deficit of attention, we have a problem regulating it. And there's a difference. And the flip side of being distracted by boring things is the ability to get into a state of intense, deep concentration on things that really light us up. This is the superpower known as hyperfocus. Now, you know what I'm talking about, that state of flow where the world just melts away, time gets all wibbly wobbly, you forget you're hungry, and all the background noise of life just goes quiet. You're completely sucked into a task, a project, or a passion. It feels like a trance, and in that state, your productivity and creativity can go through the roof. This isn't just a feeling, it's a real documented phenomenon. So many scientists, writers, and artists with ADHD say their biggest breakthroughs came from their ability to hyperfocus for hours on end. So what's the science behind it? Well, it's our old friend dopamine. Because our brain is always hunting for that reward, when we finally find something that's interesting, challenging, or just plain fun, our brain gets a huge dopamine rush, and that rush basically locks our attention onto that one thing, making it hard to look away. It's the Ferrari engine finding a long, open road with no speed limits. The same wiring that makes it impossible to start a boring task is what drives you to finish a fascinating one with an intensity that others just can't match. We see this superpower everywhere. Look at Michael Phelps, for example, one of the most decorated Olympians ever. He was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid and struggled to sit still in class. But in the pool, that energy and his ability to hyperfocus became his secret weapon, letting him train with a relentless drive. Or Dav Pilkey, better known as the creator of Captain Underpants. He was always being sent into the hallway at school, and it was during those hours alone that he let his mind go wild and created the characters that would make him famous. His hyperfocus turned attention into his creative lab. But let's be real, hyperfocus can be a problem too. It's incredible when you're locked into a project, but not so great when you realize you forgot to eat all day or pick up your kids from school. The trick is to learn how to aim this intense focus. So, how do you aim this superpower where you want it to go? Well, first, figure out what triggers it for you. What pulled you in? Is it coding, designing, researching, building things? Know what fascinates your brain. Second, find a hook for the boring but important tasks. Find one interesting angle or challenge to get you started. Sometimes 15 minutes is all it takes to get the dopamine going and kickstart your hyperfocus. Third, and very important, set alarms for everything. Since time blindness is a side effect of hyperfocus, you need outside systems to pull you out. Set timers for breaks, meals, and appointments. And finally, talk to the people around you. Let your family and coworkers know when you're in the zone. Tell them that you're not ignoring them. Your brain is just locked on. This helps them support you and will avoid hurt feelings. Hyperfocus is your secret weapon. It lets you reach a level of concentration most people can only dream about. If you can understand it and learn to work with it, you can make this trait work for you instead of against you. Alright, so we're starting to get into some pretty deep stuff here, and if any of this is clicking for you, if you're starting to see yourself in a new light, then please hit that subscribe button. We're building a community here for people who want to understand and use the strengths of their unique brains. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's the one thing that you can hyperfocus on for hours? Let's share and celebrate them. Now let's be honest. Growing up with ADHD can be tough, really tough. And from a young age, many of us deal with criticism, being misunderstood, and that constant feeling of not quite fitting in. We hear, try harder, pay attention, or just be normal. We have to get through school systems that weren't built for us, and social rules that can feel like a foreign language. And while it can be painful, going through it all builds something in you. It forges this incredible, often overlooked strength, resilience. You see, resilience is that ability to bounce back from failure, to adapt when things get hard, and to keep going. And for people with ADHD, it's not just a personality trait, it's a survival skill that we've been practicing our whole lives. Every time we had to find a weird workaround for a simple task, or every time we picked ourselves up after an impulsive mistake, and every time we had to fight for ourselves in a world that just doesn't get it, we were building a resilience muscle. And the research is finally catching up to this. A 2023 survey found that many adults with ADHD actually credit their journey with showing them who they are and helping them grow. In fact, one study found that parents and teachers were just as likely to call kids with ADHD resilient as their non-ADHD peers. This resilience is tied directly to another one of our famous superpowers, adaptability. You see, our brains love novelty and change. So often we do well in dynamic, fast-paced, and even chaotic situations that would freak other people out. A sudden change in plans might throw a neurotypical person off, but for an ADHD brain, it's an oftentimes welcome jolt of stimulation. This might even be an evolutionary holdover, because for our hunter-gatherer ancestors, being impulsive and able to shift focus quickly would have been a huge advantage for escaping predators or grabbing opportunities. This adaptability is a massive asset today, especially in high-pressure jobs. You often find people with ADHD thriving as ER doctors, firefighters, journalists, and entrepreneurs. Basically any job where you have to think on your feet and roll with the punches. Think of someone like Simone Biles, who's been very open about her ADHD. She's shown unbelievable focus and strength to become one of the greatest gymnasts ever, all while navigating intense pressure and inspiring millions of people. You see, the struggles aren't just things that happen to us. They were our training ground. They teach us empathy, they make us creative problem solvers, and they teach us that we're way stronger than we think. So, how do you own this strength? Well, the first step in this one is actually the hardest. You have to reframe your past. Look back at your struggles not as failures, but as proof of your strength. You've overcome things that other people just can't even imagine. You should own that. Second, you need to practice self-compassion. The world is critical enough. Be your own ally, and when you mess up, treat yourself like you would treat any good friend. Third, celebrate the small wins. The ADHD brain runs on positive feedback. Acknowledge your progress, no matter how tiny, because it builds momentum. And finally, find your tribe. Connect with other people with ADHD who just get it. Sharing stories and strategies is so incredibly validating. It reminds you that you're not alone in your struggles or your strengths. Your resilience isn't a nice word. It's a treatment and a testament to everything that you've overcome. It's proof that you can adapt, persevere, and thrive. Not in spite of your ADHD, but because of the strength that it's built in you. Now, have you ever walked into a room and just felt that something was off? Or looked at a messy spreadsheet and instantly saw a trend that everyone else missed? Now, that's not a psychic power. It's another one of ADHD brain's hidden strengths, enhanced pattern recognition, or EPR. Our minds are constantly scanning our environment, taking in tons of information that neurotypical brains tend to filter out as irrelevant. This sensitivity, combined with our brain's talent for making fast, non-linear connections, gives us a knack for spotting patterns and trends that aren't obvious to everyone else. While it can look like being easily distracted, it's probably more accurate to call it something like multiply attentive. Just a thought. And the research here is actually really interesting. Some experts suggest this might be because many of us are strong visual thinkers, or that it's an adaptation to make up for a weaker working memory. But whatever the biological reason, the skill is very, very real. And it's incredibly valuable. In data science, business, or finance, spotting a trend before anyone else is everything. In detective work or medical diagnostics, it's about seeing the clue that solves the whole puzzle. This pattern spotting ability is what fuels our often spooky intuition and creative problem solving, because we don't approach problems head on. We come up with solutions others would never think of. We aren't stuck on the right way to do things. Our brains are natural out-of-the-box thinkers. This is a superpower you see in so many successful entrepreneurs with ADHD. They see a gap in the market, a need that isn't being met, or a new way to combine old technologies. And they build a whole business from that one insight. Their minds are just wired to see the opportunity that's hiding in plain sight. And this can also translate to social intuition. People with ADHD tend to be significantly more empathetic than their neurotypical counterparts, picking up on tiny shifts in someone's tone of voice or body language and just knowing how they feel. This can make us great friends, compassionate leaders, and very sharp negotiators. So, how do you learn to trust this part of your brain? Well, first, trust your gut. Seriously, trust your gut. Your intuition isn't random. It's your brain's high-speed pattern processor doing its job. And when you have a strong feeling about something, pay attention. Don't dismiss it just because you can't explain the logic yet. Second, feed your brain. The more information it has, the more patterns it can find. Read weird books. Talk to people who are different from you. Try new things. Let your curiosity just run wild. And third, when you have a problem, don't just jump to the obvious answer. Give your mind room to play. Ask a lot of what-if questions. Turn the problem upside down. Your best ideas are going to come from the weirdest possible connections. And finally, try mindfulness. I know, it sounds like the opposite of what an ADHD brain wants to do, but mindfulness isn't about having an empty mind. It's about watching your thoughts without judging them. This practice can help you notice subtle patterns in your own thinking and in the world around you as well, making your intuition even stronger. You see, your ability to see the world differently, to spot the hidden connections, is a profound gift. It allows you to solve problems in ways that can change the game for you and for everyone. So don't underestimate your intuition, okay? So if you've watched this far, then something here is clearly speaking to you. You're ready to stop looking at your ADHD as a flaw and start seeing it as the asset that it actually is. The next step is to find a community that gets it. So, click the like button and let me know this helped. Subscribe so you do not want to miss what's next. And most importantly, share this video with one person who needs to hear this message. Let's change this conversation together. And head down to the comments. I want to know which of these superpowers hits home for you the most. Is it the creativity, the hyperfocus, the resilience, or the pattern recognition? I can't wait to hear all your stories. For too long now, the only words we had for ADHD were negative. Disorder, deficit, impairment. It's a story about being broken, something that needs to be fixed. And hopefully now you can see that it's a dangerously incomplete story. The same brain wiring that makes it torture to sit through boring meetings is the source of our wild creativity. The dopamine-seeking system that makes us distractible is the same engine that powers our incredible hyperfocus. And the lifelong challenge of living in a world not built for us has forged a deep resilience and adaptability. And the mind that wanders is the same mind that sees patterns and makes connections that lead to breakthroughs. And listen, I want to be very, very clear here. This is not about toxic positivity. It's not about ignoring that the challenges are real, because they very much are. The issues with executive function, emotional regulation, and just getting through a mundane task of daily life, they're all valid and require strategies, real support, and sometimes medical help. But to only focus on the challenges is to miss the whole point. It's like describing a Ferrari by its bad gas mileage while completely ignoring its breathtaking power. Embracing your ADHD means embracing all of who you are. It's about understanding your unique brain and learning to work with it, not constantly fighting against it. It's about building a life and a career that play to your strengths, that give you the stimulation you need, and that value your unique point of view. It's about giving yourself grace for the small stuff so that you have energy for the extraordinary stuff. The successful people that we with ADHD that we've talked about, from Richard Branson to Simone Biles, will.i.am to Michael Phelps, they didn't succeed by magically becoming neurotypical. They succeeded by leaning into who they are. They used their creativity, their energy, and their focus as an advantage, and that let them make their mark on the world. So the next time somebody calls you impulsive, remember that's where your courage comes from. And the next time you get lost in hyperfocus, remember that's the state where genius happens. And the next time you feel different, remember that your unique perspective is exactly what this world needs. Your ADHD isn't a secret to be hidden. It's a superpower to be understood, to be worked with, and to be celebrated. Now, get out there, my neurodivergent friends, and make your mark on the world. Don't be afraid to show your true self. Those that get you will stay. And those that don't stay, well, they were never your tribe to begin with. So, stay weird, stay fabulous, and stay funky. And remember, life is just a movie, and our minds, well, they're the twist we never saw coming. Bye.